Good morning and welcome to the Bent Pixels weekly upload. I'm Sam,
And I'm Kevin.
and we are going to be covering all the major stories that have been happening in this week of digital video, or at least the ones that we think are important.
Yeah.
So speaking of important stories, there's one that we got to get right out the gate. PewDiePie gets dropped by Disney, and YouTube Red, the second season of Scare PewDiePie, dropped as well. And then it also kind of comes on the heels of the news that Maker is reducing its creator network. So it's boy, just a lot of stuff happening with Maker, with Disney, with PewDiePie. Essentially, PewDiePie recently released by the way, if you want to know more about this story, we're not really going to go into depth about it here, mainly because it has been covered to death at this point by so many other outlets, and you've probably already formed a lot of opinions of your own. PewDiePie, as Kevin, you told me, he posted a video that was sort of an apology based on all the controversy that's happened.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know, it was all good a week ago. Things, like really, it was all good a week ago, and just things sort of just turned very different. Now that PewDiePie essentially a free agent, now that he's not with Disney, and that Maker, pretty much cut down to about 300 creators now.
From like thousands of channels.
Yeah, from thousands. It's really weird how, what are they going to do next? What are other MCNs think of doing next? Because is it going to be sort of crazy for creators and brands? It's sort of, how are they going to sort of hash this out or figure out what to do next?
So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of different layers to this story. And I think the first thing to recognize is when you're a brand, when you're a big company like Disney is, I mean, PewDiePie was doing these types of videos way before even the what he would call comedic stunts. Before the Fiverr incident, and they had to have known what they were getting into. But what mattered more to them was this idea of capturing a large audience. I think this again speaks to brand knowledge and the influencers, being true to themselves. PewDiePie has always been, in the last recent years, aggressive humor, or what he thinks is humor. I think my opinion is different about that. I think everybody has their own opinions on what they consider to be funny or what they consider to be satire. But from the business perspective, it's about having a respect for your audience and knowing when you are endorsing an individual that you need to know what they say and what they stand for. And do they create different spaces for different types of content? So it's a story that has a lot of different layers. I believe that PewDiePie as a creator has his right to produce the kind of content that he wants to produce. I think you also reap the consequences of those actions, and I think Disney made the move that was right for them. I think it was correct, and I also think that YouTube, by admonishing him, saying we're not going to do a second season, it also displays that certain types of speech are just not warranted, on YouTube, no matter how funny or aggressive or it's just satire. Well, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. You need to have, the context given. So, obviously, there's a lot of different opinions about that. If it develops, like you were saying, because it just happened the last week, we'll definitely be covering it again next week. But I'd like to see things suss out a little bit more before we do a bigger kind of story on it, but it's definitely something that we have to touch on. But in the course of that news getting released, we have a lot of other stories that came out this week that I think matter a lot to creators as well. So, Kevin, what's our first lead story from the Next Web?
Well, the newest story we have is that major Facebook video updates will bring autoplay to the platform. Which includes things like picture-in-picture and some more stuff. So one of the big things that's coming to Facebook video is that now when you scroll past a video, it'll automatically play sound.
Right.
So, take that as you will. Some people may like it, other people may not like it. But according to Facebook, pretty much they did tests and found that most people were actually pretty cool with having the sound come through. But they also said that you are able to opt out of that.
Yeah, vertical video will now take up a much larger portion of display on Android and iOS devices, and will be able to activate that picture-in-a-picture mode to minimize the video window while you keep scrolling through your newsfeed.
Yeah.
I've already seen some of these things, obviously, like on my Facebook app, the same one that we're broadcasting live from right now. But the main thing about this is I don't know how many people, and I want to take a survey. I want to ask you this question. I want our commenters to kind of chime in as well. How often is it that you're listening to audio from one source on your Android or your iPhone, and then you get interrupted by another audio source, either on your internet browser or on Facebook? I mean, is this a thing that happens to you on mobile?
Usually when I'm listening to something on Apple Music and a friend notifies me for something, and I sort of click to it, then it'll stop everything. So
Right.
usually it happens more often than not, but I think usually I make that decision if I click this, it's probably going to stop what I was already
But I'm
doing.
talking about, yeah, and I'm talking about like involuntary stuff.
Oh,
Like, have you ever been to a web page? Like, I think like some of the websites I visit started doing autoplay audio for ads that will show up.
Yeah, and with certain sites, like when I'm going to a blog or something, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Especially when
Right.
it's just like, it just comes out of nowhere. Yeah.
And then it's sort of like that old problem when you have multiple tabs open and you go, where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? And then, a while back they had the little sound icon that shows you like, oh, this tab is playing weird thing that's embedded at the bottom of the page, and you can't actually pause it unless you go to their website.
Yeah.
And it's all. I think it's a confusing thing to me. I can understand how most users, because I think that's kind of a specialized thing. You have multiple apps running. Even on the YouTube Red, on the YouTube app, where you can like have the audio from the video continuing to play even when you're not in the window of the app.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's almost like a pushback for that, where Facebook's like, no, we have precedent. Like, you can't be scrolling through Facebook while logging watch time, essentially, by listening to a YouTube video.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has to be something that Facebook took into consideration. Anyway, that's my conspiracy theory for the week. I find it to be a little bit annoying, to be honest. I think that it's, however, from a video creator perspective, very important, because it used to be that, you just needed to have the two black bars of text on top, that feel when, and then just play a, like some cute puppy video or something, in order to catch a non-audio, catch that eye. Now we're talking about like catching your ear. It's the same way, I think, when they came out with skippable ads, and they had to have something really cool happen in the first 5 seconds. You saw a lot of movie trailers where they'll show like a 5-second super truncated version of it, and then it's like the real 30-second teaser starts. If you've seen that, so look to see a lot more gaming this system, I think, on Facebook video. So in the comments, I want to know, how often do you find your experience interrupted by other websites and apps? Because this is the sort of stuff that starts to become the new pop-up ad, right? Where I'm in the middle of an experience, I'm already on your website, and then you create this environment that's like, oh my God, I hate this. Like, I hate it. So I always worry about the invasiveness of it. At least when it was the video only and it would autoplay, there was some choice involved, and then, it was challenging. With the restriction in place, advertisers, video creators have to find ways to get my attention. So I don't know, with audio only, it'll make it a simpler and louder environment. So speaking of skippable ads, next story from Engadget was YouTube will do away with unskippable 30-second ads next year. The story says YouTube will stop supporting unskippable 30-second pre-video advertisements in favor of shorter formats as of 2018. So this is going to be a big universal change. You can see why they want to give a lot of lead time to advertisers and content creators, that this is going to come into place. UK publication Campaign believes that YouTube will make more extensive use of 6-second unskippable video ads instead, which a lot of people, I know they have nothing bad to say about that type of format, because it's super short. But maybe, what's your take on this, Kev? Is this because of just people like constantly pushing back against ads, or do you think like their metrics have found like that 6 seconds is all you actually need? What's your take on this?
It might depend on the ad, to be honest with you, because there's been a lot of times where you can tell like the 6-second ads is something like how Viners, how they sort of got big because they only had a limited amount of time to sort of do those ads. And also, when you see those 30-second unskippable ads, if you actually go to where their videos primarily are, they're usually downvoted a lot because a lot of those people are just like, I don't want to see this ad and things like that.
Interesting.
So it might just be just because users negatively like those 30-second unskippable ads. Maybe the 6-second ones. Those are probably one of the ones that they just are cool with, especially just skippable ones. Because if they're non-skippable, it's really just hard to sit down with. Other people are cool with it though too.
Yeah, any attention is good attention though, right? Like even when you dislike or downvote really something, like that's still measured as engagement from YouTube's from the analytics side. So, I think that this is a good thing, especially if you're going to start doing more mid-roll, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Facebook. The prominence of live streaming video like this one, if our stream went for 20 minutes, we'd probably start seeing a lot of mid-roll coming in at the 7-minute mark or what have you. And I think that this could be, again, sort of a proving ground. If everybody gets used to doing 6-second ads, all of a sudden we can serve up 5 6-second ads in this slot that only one 30-second ad, then we can keep charging multiple people for ad space. I think it's interesting how every time we talk about expansion in digital video, it's how, with what we said at the top with the PewDiePie situation, with people always thinking about influencer economy and how maybe that's shifting. So then the technology providers are like, well, let's go over here and try and create more equitable markets for advertisers over here instead and try and get them back into the traditional ad buy space. Maybe this is just a way that they can get more companies into the ad buy space if they're not going to be spending all that money trying to get individual influencers that might make an incredibly cataclysmic video that could tank their careers for a period of time. But that's just one little bear's opinion. Yeah. So what's our final story here, Kev, you found for us?
The final story we have is from Mashable.com, and it is that YouTube is announcing 4 new original series on YouTube Red aimed at kids.
YouTube Kids aimed on Red. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, so in spring 2017, they plan to roll out new original programming that's aimed at kids and families. And it's going to be the first time YouTube Red has invested in creators who are producing original programming for the family audience. And they have Malik Descartes, who's YouTube's global head of family and learning, wrote in a blog post that it's important that kids are able to explore what they love in the app, while also continuing to put parents in the driver's seat to choose what's right for their family.
Yeah, they also, the show titles are Hyperlinked, Dan TDM Creates a Big Scene, The Kings of Atlantis, and Fruit Ninja Frenzy Force. I believe that last one had an iOS game, right? That everybody plays.
Yeah, I really can't believe they turned the app where you're just cutting fruit into a whole series of something.
Well, you know that the Angry Birds film is technically, I think, the highest rated movie based on a video game property. Yeah.
Over Mortal Kombat, the first one? Because I still love that movie.
Dude, I love it too. I think that if anybody wants to watch a really great supercut, Christopher Lambert as Raiden, it's always a pronunciation thing. In the first Mortal Kombat film, where he just sort of laughs and says weird stuff, he's
yeah, he's funny.
It's great. Anyway, so if you want to do some YouTube spelunking, look up some Christopher Lambert as Raiden. I can't believe we got from YouTube Kids to the first Mortal Kombat film, but there you go. It shows you the full depth of content here of Ben Pixel's weekly upload. So you want to know why I'm excited by this, Kev? Because if you take a single look at the kind of content that children can watch on YouTube, it is, and I'm speaking to the parents directly, it's horrifying. Some of the videos that you see concerning what characters from Frozen are up to at the dentist, what Spider-Man and the Hulk are doing randomly with Play-Doh, there just seems to be a lot of, I'm going to call it inane type content. Like, have you seen, you have young nieces, correct?
Yeah.
That you watch some of this stuff with?
Yeah, sometimes they'll see like
It seems ridiculous.
Yeah,
like
it's
some of the
something-
weird mashups.
Yeah, it's like some of the mashups and most craziest of like scenes of stuff, and I'm just like, how did they get to watching that? Like, and usually I'm pretty good with monitoring what my nieces and nephews watch and things like that, but sometimes it'll just like they'll be into a playlist and one thing you're watching a show, and then the playlist will go to Captain America fighting Lego miniature figures in a pool of water or something.
Yeah,
weird. Just something like
it's like Kinder, and it all seems like weird, like SEO grab stuff where it's like Kinder Egg Surprise Captain America Dentist Elsa Disney. And that'll be the title of the video. It'll be like darn near the title of the video.
Or like clickbait and all that. Just adding stuff for.
And then you look at the views, you look at the thumbnails, and you realize that there is just this wide swath of exploiting the YouTube algorithm for these things. Not to say that every piece of kids' content is like this. There's also a ton of very generic, nursery rhyme videos or learning videos. I still think there can be quality content. You also have the unboxing videos where kids want to watch other kids play with toys. So there's levels of innocence here, right? Like, okay, a kid just wants to watch that for this reason, but there's a reason why Sesame Street is supported by families, because yes, it's bright colors and everybody just recognizes Elmo, Grover, Cookie Monster, but at least they're trying to teach your children about how to properly eat and count and think. Maybe Benedict Cumberbatch shows up and sings a song or something. It's very wholesome. Anyway, I think that what's good is that YouTube recognizes what a large market there is with even some of the spam content, and so at least in their official, what they're trying to push through the YouTube Red app will be hopefully more legit content for children.
Yeah, I would hope so, because that's something that the platform has it, but just needs a lot more focus on it. Just because right now it's not too hard to find good content that's really educational for your children and for your nieces and nephews, but it is harder just because there's so much stuff coming at your kids that they wouldn't know what to expect or parse through. You need something that's clear and concise.
And that's actually a really good point, which is part of the reason why they spun out the YouTube Kids app, was this idea of we need to be able to funnel and help control what kids might or might not get exposed to. And so the YouTube Kids app is sort of YouTube's attempt, at least, to try and prevent weird stuff showing up in your suggested and related videos just because these other pieces of content match the metadata that wholesome stuff gets. So, and a lot of times, parents will just trust that they sit their kids down in front of a playlist with their tablet or their phone, and okay, they're just watching those videos. But all it takes is just one errant click of oh, I like this thing with the yellow background and all these shapes on it, and then you're just in this weird zone, I feel like, of YouTube. So if you have younglings in your life that watch a lot of YouTube, let us know your personal experiences. Are you a parent? Are you a great uncle? Are you somebody that sees kids on YouTube? What are they watching? Why are they watching it? I think about this a lot because a couple of our clients here at Bent Pixels deal with kids content, so I monitor this sort of activity a lot, and I think that it's important to improve the space and to make it bigger and better than it is. Anyway, those are our stories for this week's weekly upload. Was there anything else thought-wise, Kev, that you wanted to get out about the stories that we covered? Anything else we forgot?
No, I think we touched base on a lot of good stuff. I just wonder what the whole PewDiePie, the whole other MCN sort of space, and just creators and brands in general, I wonder how that relationship is going to turn out within the next week or the next month, and just see, where does this sort of conversation lead to now?
Yeah, I think PewDiePie tends to be in his own microcosm, right? Because he's big, he's doing what he's going to be doing. What will interest me more is, again, the different splits in YouTube creators. Making sure that these guys control their brands tightly. If they're interested in getting bigger and better with sponsorships and groups, and this has always been out there, but it's not enough to just delete a video 2 days after you post it and then do an apology a week later or so. you have to just be on top of it at all times, you know. And if you are adjusting your approach and everything, awesome. If that's true to what you want to do, great. But know that that might throw some people off, and in some cases you might pay for it. So really big stories this week. Let us know what you think about in the comments, and we'll try and get to more comments live next time. But we're always watching, we're always paying attention, so excuse me. Let us know what you think, and until next week, have a great weekend.
Yep.